Once upon a time, in a big, bright village, there lived a little girl named Maya. She had big, sparkly eyes and short, soft hair. Everyone in the village knew Maya was very special because she worked very hard and always had a smile for everyone. Maya didn't have a mother or father of her own anymore, so she lived with Chief Saka and his wife, Simbi. They had a very big house with lots of rooms and a huge garden. Chief Saka was kind like a big jolly bear, but Simbi, she had been very sad because she lost her own little girl, Amina, who was as cute as a button and made everyone laugh. When Amina went missing during a family trip and didn't come back, Simbi and Chief Saka's hearts broke into tiny little pieces. They searched everywhere, but only found Amina's little shoes and dress with spots of red, like when you squish a berry. So they thought a wild animal had found her, and they were very, very sad. After that, Chisaka brought Maya to live with them. At first, Simbi was as sweet as honey to Maya, giving her hugs and kisses. But soon, her heart hurt too much, and she forgot how to be kind. She started being mean to Maya, thinking it would help her feel less sad about losing Amina. And that's how Maya became the hardworking girl living with Chief Saka and not so kind Simbi in the big bright village, trying her best to find little bits of happiness in her sparkly eyes and short, perfect hair. In the sunny, big village, Simbi used to be like a warm sunbeam. She would laugh and play, making cakes and singing songs that floated through the air like soft feathers. Everyone in the village liked Simbi because she was kind and her heart was big. But when the sunbeam lost her little Amina, the laughter stopped. The singing turned into silence. Simbi's heart didn't feel big anymore. It felt squeezed tight, like when you hold your breath too long. She missed Amina so much that her sadness turned into a heavy stone inside her. Every day, looking at Maya, who was trying so hard to be good, made Simbi think of her Amina. But her eyes didn't see the kind girl Maya was. They only saw that she was not Amina. This made her heart hurt more, and she started being mean to Maya. She thought maybe that would help her feel better, but it didn't. Simbi stopped giving hugs and kisses. Instead, she gave out sharp words and cold stares. Her sweet voice became a harsh whisper. Everyone in the village noticed how the warm sunbeam had turned into a chilly, grey cloud. Poor Maya didn't understand why Simbi changed. She tried to do her best, hoping to see Simbi smile like before. But the smiles were gone, and in their place were frowns and sadness. Simbi's grief had changed her from a loving sunshine into a cold moon, hidden behind clouds of sorrow and anger. One chilly morning, when the sun was just peeking over the hills, Simbi woke up feeling like a storm cloud ready to burst. She went straight to Maya's little room, where Maya was still snuggled under a thin blanket, dreaming of sunny days and sweet mangoes. Maya! Simi's voice cracked like thunder, and she shook Maya's shoulder roughly. Is this time to still be sleeping? Lazy girl. Get up! Her words were sharp, like little needles. Maya's eyes popped open wide, big and round. She was so startled, and her heart started thumping like a drum in her chest. She didn't understand why Simbi was so angry. She quickly jumped out of bed, her head still fuzzy with sleep. Without saying a word, Maya ran out of the room to start her chores. She swept the floors with her broom, swish, swash, making the dust fly like tiny dancing fairies. She moved through the big house, cleaning and tidying, trying to make everything perfect so Simbi might smile. But deep inside, her little heart felt heavy and sad, like it was carrying a basket of stones. Simbi watched her from the corner of her eye. Her face, all scrunched up like when you taste something very sour. She wanted everything to be just right, but her heart was so filled with the stormy winds of sadness and anger that she couldn't see how hard Maya was trying. That harsh morning, the house felt colder than usual, and Maya moved quickly, hoping her work would bring back the warm sunbeam that Simbi used to be. But the coldness lingered, and the warm sunbeam seemed very, very far away. One day, not long after the harsh morning, the sun was high in the sky, but inside the big house, there was no warmth. Simbi had woken up like a whirlwind, and she gave Maya a list of chores that seemed as long as the river that flowed past the village. Clean all the floors, wash the clothes, and don't forget to polish every single window, Simbi said, her voice sharp and quick like a snapping twig. Maya nodded, her heart sinking. She started with the floors, sweeping and mopping until her arms ached. Then she tackled the mountain of clothes left by the boys. They were 5 brothers, always running and playing, their clothes muddy and their shoes leaving trails through the house like little paths in the forest. As she washed and scrubbed, the boys came home from school, dropping their bags and kicking off their shoes without a care. The house quickly turned into a mess again, like a windstorm had blown through. Maya's earlier work was undone in moments, and she felt tears prickling behind her eyes. "Please, can you help me just a little?" Maya asked the boys quietly, hoping for some kindness. But Simbi heard her and came storming in like dark clouds on the horizon. "Never ask them for help. You are here to do these things, not them," Simbi scolded, her words like hailstones on a tin roof. She made Maya wash the floors all over again and polish the already shiny windows until her fingers felt numb. The day dragged on, each task feeling heavier than the last. Maya tried to be quick and careful, but it was never enough. Simbi found fault in everything, her eyes sharp and her words sharper. "Faster, better, more careful," she would say, making Maya's spirits sink lower and lower. As the sun set, turning the sky into a blaze of oranges and pinks, Maya finally finished her last chore. She was so tired her whole body trembled like a leaf in the wind. That day of hardship felt longer than any she had known, her little world spinning around her like she was caught in the middle of a whirlwind trying to find a way out. One day, when the house was quiet and the dust had settled from the day's hustle, Simbi decided to wear her special gold earrings for a village gathering. They sparkled like tiny stars and were very precious to her. But as she reached for them, she found only one shining back at her. The other was gone, vanished like a whispered secret. Simbi's heart thumped with worry, and her worry quickly turned into a storm of anger. "Maya!" she called out, her voice booming like thunder across the house. Maya, who was folding clothes in another room, came running, her feet barely touching the ground. "Yes, Ma?" she asked, her voice tiny. "My earring is missing." "You have taken it, haven't you?" Simbi accused, her eyes narrowing like slits. Maya's eyes grew wide with shock. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She had never touched Simbi's things, not ever. "I didn't take it, Ma. Please believe me," Maya finally whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. But Simbi wouldn't listen. "No, you will kneel and stay there until it is found," she declared, pointing to a corner of the room. Maya, with a heavy heart, knelt on the hard floor, feeling the weight of the accusation like a stone on her back. Hours passed, the sun crawled across the sky, and the house remained tense. The boys, led by their mother's fury, turned the house upside down, searching. It was during this search, deep in the back of Simbi's own wardrobe, beneath layers of colorful fabrics, that the lost earring was found by the youngest boy, hiding shyly between folds of a silk scarf. "Here it is, mother," he exclaimed, holding up the earring, which gleamed innocently in his small hand. Simbi's face changed then. The anger melted into a quiet surprise, but not into kindness. She took the earring, dusted it off, and placed it back in its box without looking at Maya. "You may get up," she said flatly, her voice empty of warmth. Maya rose, her knees sore, her heart sore too. She had been punished and hurt for something she hadn't done. And even with the truth shining as clearly as the found earring, there was no sorry, no hug, no kind word from Simbi, just the cold air filling the space between them as Maya quietly went back to her chores, the day's light fading around her like a dimming candle. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Maya grew taller and smarter. She watched the world around her and learned from everything she saw. Deep inside, she felt a dream growing, a dream of doing something more, something that would make her proud and maybe even happy. One sunny morning, filled with the courage that had been bubbling inside her, Maya approached Simbi. She found her in the garden, where the air was sweet, with the scent of blooming flowers. "Ma," Maya began, her voice as gentle as a breeze. "I was thinking maybe I could learn a trade. I could learn to sew, or maybe even bake. It would help me, and maybe I could help more around here too." Simbi looked at her, her eyes like two hard stones. "Learn a trade? Why should I waste money teaching a trade to a worthless orphan like you? Your parents didn't even bother to keep you. Why should I care?" Her words were sharp and cold, cutting through the warm air like a knife. Maya's heart sank. She felt the sting of Simbi's words like a slap. She had hoped for kindness, maybe even a little support, but instead, she found only harshness. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away. She didn't want Simbi to see her cry. "I'm sorry, Ma," Maya murmured, turning away. She felt smaller than she had before, as if Simbi's cruel words had taken something away from her. That night, Maya lay in her small bed, staring at the ceiling as the moonlight danced across it. The dream that had felt so bright that morning now seemed dim and far away. She knew she couldn't give up, but at that moment, the path forward seemed covered in shadows. Simbi's words echoed in her ears, but a small spark of hope still flickered deep inside her, whispering that someday, somehow, things would get better. Despite the heavy words Simbi had left in her heart, Maya's dream didn't fade away. It clung on, like a stubborn little flower in the crack of a wall. One day, Chief Saka saw her sitting alone, her eyes distant and sad. He sat beside her, his voice warm and deep. "Maya, you look like you carry the world on your shoulders. Tell me, what weighs on your heart?" Maya looked up at him, the kindness in his eyes like a soft light. She told him about her wish to learn a trade, about how she wanted to make something of herself. Chief Saka listened, nodding slowly. "You deserve a chance to chase your dreams, just like everyone else," he said, his decision clear in his steady gaze. The next day, Chief Saka took Maya to the village market, where the sounds of life buzzed like a hive of happy bees. There, they met Sidi, a kind-hearted tailor known for her beautiful stitches and even more beautiful heart. Her shop was a cozy place, filled with colorful fabrics that told stories in every fold. "Sidi, this is Maya. She's eager to learn, and I can think of no better teacher." Chief Saka introduced them, with a proud smile. Sidi looked at Maya, her eyes soft and welcoming. Well, Maya, you're welcome here. Let's turn those dreams into dresses, she said, her laugh light and musical. Maya felt a door open in her heart, letting light flood in. She started to spend her days at Sidi's shop, learning to guide the fabric gently under the humming sewing machine, her fingers becoming skilled at forming perfect tiny stitches. Each piece of clothing she helped create was like a piece of a new world she was building for herself. With every passing day, Maya's confidence grew. Sidi was patient and encouraging, treating Maya not just as an apprentice, but as a sister. In the glow of the afternoon sun that filtered through the shop's windows, Maya felt the warmth of a future she had only dared to dream of. For the first time in a long while, Maya felt a real, solid hope for her future, one that was sewn together by her own hands, stitch by beautiful stitch. Her heart, once heavy with Simbi's harsh words, now felt lighter and eager for the days to come. As the season changed and the leaves whispered the tales of a turning world, Maya's days became filled with the hum of the sewing machine and the laughter shared with Sidi. But beneath her newfound joy, the years of hardship and strain began to show their shadows. One morning, as the dawn broke with a gentle glow, Maya felt a weakness grip her. Her body trembled like a leaf in a storm, and a deep chill spread through her despite the warm air. She tried to rise, to start the day's work, but her limbs were heavy. Her head spun with dizzy spells, and her skin burned with fever. At Sidi's shop, Maya struggled to focus. Her stitches wandered like the meandering rivers across the fabric. Sidi noticed her pale face and the way her hands shook. "Child, you're burning up," she said, her voice thick with concern. She touched Maya's forehead, which was hot as the midday sun on the savannah. "I'm fine, just a little tired." Maya tried to smile, but her eyes were glazed with pain. "You're not fine. You're ill," Sidi insisted. "We're going to the hospital, now." Back at Chief Saka's house, Simbi saw Maya being helped into Sidi's car. "Where do you think you're going, acting all weak?" "It's just an excuse to skip work," Simbi accused, her voice harsh as gravel. Her eyes narrowed in suspicion, not a flicker of concern in them. Maya wanted to argue, to cry out that she was truly sick, but her strength was sapped, and all she could do was cough, each one racking her body like thunder. Sidi didn't waste a moment. "She's not pretending. She's really sick, and I'm taking her to get help," she declared, her tone leaving no room for Simbi's cruelty to take root. With a protective arm around Maya, she helped her into the car and drove to the village hospital. At the hospital, doctors bustled around, their faces set in lines of professional concern as they tended to Maya. They spoke in low, urgent tones, checking her temperature, giving her medicine to bring down the fever, and fluids to ease her dehydration. The room was a blur to Maya, the voices a distant murmur as she slipped in and out of consciousness. Through it all, Sidi stayed by her side, a steady presence in the storm. As the medicine began to work, Maya's mind cleared, and she realized how close she had come to collapsing completely. It wasn't just the illness, but years of accumulated exhaustion and stress that had brought her to this breaking point. The day faded into night, and under the gentle watch of Sidi and the caring hospital staff, Maya finally found rest, her sleep deep and healing. Outside, the stars blinked in the vast African sky, silent witnesses to the kindness and cruelty of the world below. But for Maya, the nightmare of Simbi's accusations felt far away, muffled by the protective walls of care and compassion that surrounded her now. In the quiet hospital room, as the morning light spilled softly through the window, a small but startling discovery was made. Sidi, while helping to tidy Maya's belongings, found a small, delicate pendant tucked away in a side pocket of Maya's bag. The pendant, intricate and golden, was adorned with a tiny, beautifully crafted flower, a piece so unique it seemed to whisper secrets of a distant past. Recognizing the pendant, Sidi's breath caught in her throat. It was remarkably similar to one she had seen Simbi hold dearly in her hands, one she spoke of often, a keepsake from her daughter Amina, lost so many years ago. With the pendant in her hand, Sidi rushed to Simbi's house, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. She found Simbi in the garden, lost in thought among the flowers that swayed in the gentle breeze. "Simbi," Sidi called out, her voice trembling. "Look what I found with Maya. Do you recognize this?" She held out the pendant. It shimmered in the sunlight, catching Simbi's eye. As Simbi took the pendant, her hands shook. Memories flooded back. The day Amina had worn it, the laughter, the joy, and the devastating loss. Tears welled up in her eyes as she clutched the pendant to her heart. "It can't be," she murmured, more to herself than to Sidi. Driven by a new, desperate need for answers, Simbi hurried to the hospital with Sidi. They found Maya sleeping peacefully, a stark contrast to the turmoil unfolding around her. As Simbi approached the bedside, her eyes were drawn to a small birthmark on Maya's shoulder. Visible as the blanket had slipped slightly, it was a small, crescent-shaped mark, exactly like the one Amina had. A mark Simbi had kissed 1,000 times, a silent promise of motherly love forever imprinted on her memory. With the realization striking deep and hard, Simbi's legs gave way, and she fainted, overwhelmed by the tide of emotions. The room spun around her as nurses rushed to her aid, but her mind was somewhere else entirely, lost in the miraculous and tumultuous storm of finding her daughter, the daughter she had unknowingly tormented, the daughter she had mourned for years, right there beside her. As the medical staff tended to Simbi, Sidi stood by, her heart heavy with the weight of what this discovery meant. It was a moment of profound revelation, one that would change everything for Simbi and Maya. A moment that spoke of lost time and newfound hopes, of pain and potential healing. The truth had come to light in the most unexpected of ways, and now the journey toward understanding and forgiveness was just beginning. When Simi regained consciousness, her eyes opened to a world that felt both new and painfully familiar. She lay in a hospital bed, not far from where Maya rested, the weight of her discovery pressing down on her. The room was quiet, save for the soft beeping of machines and the low murmur of nurses outside. Once stable, Simbi slowly walked over to Maya's bedside, her steps hesitant, her heart full of a tumultuous mix of fear and longing. Maya was awake now, her eyes cautious and uncertain. The air between them was thick with years of unspoken pain and the raw, new wound of truth. Simbi took a deep breath, her voice breaking as she spoke. "Maya, my daughter, I can't believe I didn't see it before. I've caused you so much pain, and I am so deeply sorry." Tears streamed down her face, each one a silent testament to her regret and sorrow. Maya listened, her own heart a battlefield of emotions. Anger, confusion, and a desperate hope clashed within her. She looked at the woman who had been both her tormentor and, as she now knew, her mother. "Why?" was all she could muster. A single word, but one laden with so much. Simbi, crying harder now, tried to explain. I was blinded by my grief, Maya. I lost you once, and when I couldn't bear that pain, I I misplaced it. It landed on you, and that was wrong. So wrong. I hope one day you can forgive me, though I know I don't deserve it. The room filled with a heavy silence as Maya absorbed her mother's words. The journey to forgiveness seemed long and uncertain, but as she met Simbi's gaze, she saw genuine remorse. It was a start, a small, fragile bridge beginning to form over a vast chasm of hurt. Chief Saka, who had been standing quietly by the door, now joined them, his presence solid and comforting. "We've both failed you, Maya," he said, his voice steady but full of pain. "But we are here now, and we want to make things right. We want to be the family you deserve." Together, they began the slow process of healing. Conversations were had, many filled with tears, and some with smiles as old, happier memories were tentatively shared. Simbi and Chief Saka learned about Maya's dreams, her struggles, and her strength. Maya, in turn, began to see the human frailty in her parents, particularly in Simbi, who was so broken by her own losses. As days turned into weeks, the family found a new rhythm, one marked by a cautious but growing warmth. The community watched and supported them, helping in small ways, their actions speaking of a shared understanding of the power of forgiveness and second chances. Through it all, the lesson that emerged was clear and profound. Love is resilient. Loss does not have to define us, and forgiveness, while sometimes hard, is often the path to true healing. Maya and her family, bound by pain but also by love rediscovered, stepped into the future with hope, a hope that was cautious yet brighter than any they had known in years. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please comment what you learned from the tale to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.